Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome. Morning in the Valley. It is October the 24th and so close. 10 days away from the start of the season. November 3rd, right around the corner. We've got exhibition action to talk about from last night. We've got exhibition action coming up this weekend. We finally got a preseason Missouri Valley poll on the ladies' side to get to. Controversy about G League guys coming to college basketball. Who wants to gamble? Well, college athletes can do that now as well. A couple former old friends going to sign some contracts, have signed some contracts to play overseas, and we will continue our preseason previews this morning. And we will head to Normal, Illinois, and we will talk with the radio voice of the Illinois State women, Greg Halbleib, and get his thoughts on what is ahead for Kristen Gillespie's bunch this season there with the Redbirds. Some have asked, I have listened. This weekend, if all goes according to plan, this fine little program, which airs every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for now on YouTube at 9 a.m. will also be available in audio form only through Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So for those of you that have asked, you are welcome. But please continue to support us over on YouTube for free. You can subscribe to our channel, just Morning in the Valley, share, comment, like, all of that. And that will help us out considerably. And again, as another week and a half, season starts, we will be on a lot more frequently than just Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the morning. So hope you will be able to help us out and subscribe, hit the little notification bell so you'll be reminded every time we do go live, whenever that is, especially once the season starts. All right, headlines of the morning today, and we will start last night in Peoria as Bradley playing their final exhibition game. Did it happen? I don't know. The trees in the woods, I guess, fell, and there was enough people. St. Louis put out a post-game graphic saying, hey, we won 98-77. There was no television. There was no internet stream. There was no radio. There was some pictures online that Bradley posted, but no final score, as you would probably expect with the fact that they at least came up on the short end of the stick in a game that did not ultimately count. This was, I guess, as best described, Dave Aminian from the Peoria Journal-Star, who covers Bradley, was doing the Lord's work last night, throwing up some videos and some thoughts during the game to sort of help us out a little bit. I did, thanks to some boots on the ground in the Valley, able to get my hands on a box score, which helped a little bit. But again, in the end, doesn't matter. No, it's the. I said this on Monday that when you lose an exhibition game, it's just an exhibition. When you win an exhibition game, it's hey, we won. So this just falls into the hey, it was an exhibition for the Braves. Old friend alert, Robbie Avila, former Indiana State Sycamore, 11.7 rebounds, 5 assists in 25 minutes. I think the part that I found probably most interesting out of this was I think you start to see a little more of and again, just looking off a box score, but you see that maybe the rotation's starting to be a little more tightened up for Brian Wardle as maybe than we saw in game one. Exhibition one a week ago up at Green Bay, where he had 10 different guys play at least 10 minutes. Last night, he had just 7. So the minutes being more heavily distributed to his starting 5 and a much tighter rotation. Look, Bradley shot 37 free throws. They forced 21 turnovers, sort of in a vacuum. You look at those and you're like, oh, well, it went well, right? It didn't, obviously. It got beat. They played quarters. There was actually 5 quarters. They only counted the first 4 toward the 98-77, but it was more of that scrimmage structure that you normally see from teams. But SLU, on the other hand, shot 59%. They out-rebounded the Braves 46-29. Points in the paint, 50-28 in favor of SLU. Held Bradley to just 36.5% from the field and 25% from three-point range, 7 for 28. So a lot of good, certainly, for the Billikens coming out of this. I think the one thing that jumps out, and again, from a I'm literally reading off a piece of paper trying to solve the world's problems here. But Ahmet Jonovic, the big 7-footer there for Bradley, only played 12 and a half minutes, no points, 2 rebounds, only had 1 foul, so that wasn't an issue. Hopefully there wasn't any injury situation that they opted to. There didn't, again, from the online discourse, did not appear to be an injury, but hopefully there wasn't just something nagging that they decided to pull him out and not play him anymore. But when you're minus 17 on the glass and your 7-footer only plays 12 minutes, that certainly can be attributed to that. But again, another final dress rehearsal for Brian Wardle to be able to tinker with some stuff and have some different rotations and so on. But all roads right now, certainly I think from, you beat Green Bay last week, who's picked bottom in the Horizon League, and first half went well. And as Coach Wardle played more guys in the second half, the lead dwindled away, and they got some final minute, tight late game scenario stuff that they could work on. And this one was a little tougher matchup, but it provides all that film opportunity to be like, yeah, all right, fellas, if you're feeling good about yourselves and maybe a little above your skis, we've got plenty to show you and plenty to work on here over the next week and a half before things open up. November the 3rd, 10 a.m. Central Time in Rock Hill, South Carolina. The Braves will open up in the Field of 68 opening day marathon when they take on St. Bonaventure. So the runway is clear, and now it's 10 days of learn what you can from this matchup here with SLU and get ready for the Bonnies coming up next Monday. All right. The other exhibition news is we have exhibition games this weekend, and they're going to start picking up here. Women, they're not in as much of a hurry. Some of those of our women's team starting November 3rd, but some pushing it back later in the week because their season runs a week longer, so they're not in quite the hurry. But we have 2 men's exhibitions this weekend. Evansville's at home with Henderson State Saturday. Murray State will play Northern State on Sunday. That is head coach Ryan Miller's alma mater, so throwing a bone to his old stomping grounds, Division II Northern State coming in. So that'll be on Sunday. And then on the women's side, Illinois State will play their only exhibition game. They'll take on Illinois Wesleyan coming up on Sunday. So we'll have all the breakdowns of those that we can for you coming up on Monday morning here on this fine program. All right, our guest has arrived. It's time to talk some Illinois State women's basketball as we welcome in the radio voice of the Redbirds. He is Greg Halbleib. And Greg, good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Hey, Jeff. Good. Super morning here in Central Illinois. I have no complaints. How's everything in wonderful Kentucky?
37.
Our football team was just there not that long ago. But
that is true. That was true. It was an entertaining game. The Redbirds able to come out of there. Got a lot of points, but 37 degrees here today, so I'm cranky about that. But
same here. But I'm inside where it's nice and toasty, as you can see, in a car dealership with my day job where we just finished our morning show. So all is well.
Wonderful. All right. As we look back at last year and just kind of putting a bow on last season for the Redbirds, 24-13 overall, 14-6 in the Valley, got beat in the quarterfinals by Drake. It was at the top of the league last year, was awesome. And it was just no crime in losing to a Drake team there in the quarterfinals. Make a run all the way to the semifinals of the WNIT and the Fab Four. How much with 9 kids coming back, how much of a benefit was there to be able to extend that postseason all the way into April and get some postseason reps?
That thought has crossed my mind quite a bit, and I think that is just incredibly valuable to get those extra reps. I know sometimes we say in baseball, since we're at that time of year with the World Series and the end of the playoffs, that they say, golly, all that extra baseball just wears you out. And I don't think that's the case with basketball. You want reps, and so they got them in great scenarios and great settings. And it was pretty cool. That was a really special run. It had so many twists to it. As a matter of fact, not only continuing to win the way they won, had a couple of come from behind wins, couldn't play on our home floor on one of those. So we went down the road to our friends at Illinois Wesleyan University, the Division III school in town, which is a fantastic D3 women's program as well, and filled that 3,000-seat arena. And that was a fantastic atmosphere. So it was such a fun run. But as far as the X's and the O's are concerned, boy, that really helped a lot of people get some big time experience. Experience is one thing, but I mean, experience when it's on the line is another.
Sure.
And I think that was that was invaluable.
Only 3 departures off last year's team. 2 obviously with graduation. Elise Knudsen, Maya Wong gone. The big one though, Shannon Dowell, second team All Valley on her way to Missouri. Those 3 combined, I mean, it's 40 points of offense, but 2 obviously graduating, we're getting back. But Shannon Dowell moving on. What sort of what's the vacancy she leaves there in the lineup for Coach Gillespie?
Yeah, she's the notable one because she just has springs for legs and she's just creates, and that's what you did. She was just the classic NBA style ISO game. You just go ahead and give her the ball some days and get out of her way. Even though obviously, as you well know, there's such a good cast of characters. She leaves a void, but I think it also changes the character of the team. And it's not like, oh, how are we going to have another Shannon Dowell? Well, we don't need another Shannon Dowell necessarily, because we have a Nevaeh Thomas and we have an Addie Martin and we have a Trista Fada at the point guard spot, because the other 2 names that you mentioned, those are huge losses. I mean, huge losses expected, obviously, because Elise and Maya obviously ran out of eligibility, but man, they had such a value on our team. It was such a thrill to be able to enjoy Elise Knudsen for a year, and just the way that she's able to, ice water in the veins, to, hackneyed phrase, but man, she hit big shots. And she was such a pleasure to watch. D3 player of the year, reigning D3 player of the year, that came to us from just down the road. And she was a lot of fun. Replacing that's going to be interesting. Maya Wong's leadership is going to be hard to replace, because I joked with her on the coaches show. And I mean, sometimes I don't want to get too much of a homer during those shows or even on the broadcasts, because the league is so good and I want to give credit to our schedule. But man, I almost got verklempt talking to Maya on our coaches show, because she's from Normal Community High School. And so, in other words, she played 3 seasons there. She graduated early in order to get to the university quickly. But I sat there and it hit me right there during our coaches show. And I said, Maya, I've covered you for 10 years on the basketball floor. How do you replace that?
Yeah.
Now, fortunately, she has turned her attention to coaching, not here, but and as I was hoping that she would. So, the very long answer to your very short question is, we do have leadership in the form of Nevaeh Thomas, who's just really apparently taken that upon her shoulders. Floor leadership with Trista Fada, who I was really surprised at her poise as a freshman last year, in the point guard spot, because if Maya got into foul trouble, sometimes that happened, and Trista came in. We didn't really miss a beat. And if you're going to be a point guard, I think you want to play for Kristen Gillespie, who obviously was a national championship point guard under Kay Yao at North Carolina State. So, that's kind of point guard you over at Illinois State. So, in other words, we have some leadership that's come along, and I'm really curious to see where some of the newcomers and some who haven't seen a lot of time are going to fit into all this as well. The dynamic is obviously here and still October being developed.
2 double-digit scorers returning, as you've mentioned, Nevaeh Thomas and Addie Martin as well. Let's start with Nevaeh. What is she going to bring to the table, and trying to maybe bring some more to the table this season?
Kristen pointed out, and shame on me as the broadcaster, I wasn't even fully aware of all of her injuries. I just know that she was kind of always on trainer Raquel Cabrera's table a lot. But she apparently had labrums that were torn on both sides for a good portion of that season, and she played through that. She's healthy now, apparently, according to the coach. And yes, when she announced that she was going to return and she wasn't going to enter the portal, she just knew that she still had stuff to give, and she was really, really good last year. Kristen says, look out. Vay is going to be a real deal this year. And she also points out that Addie Martin is now a senior. This will be her second year with the Redbird program. And she already has that senioritis. And I mean it in a good way, because when you see the end of your collegiate career, sometimes, I'm going to kick this now into gear. I'm going to get the most I can out of it. She is a very intelligent young woman, and she recognizes that now, and she's already in that mode, and she's really worked on her game. I love her leadership. She is an emotional leader on the floor. Vay is kind of an X and O lead by example kind of a person. So you have those two people to get back to the leadership part of it is, and I think the Redbirds in really, really good hands.
Some big time scorers in the league shifted homes within the league, coming from Indiana State. Kesslin Sechrist going to Murray State, and Bella Finnegan rolls into Normal to play for the Redbirds, 13 points a game. It's like, again, there's so much. You bring kids in from the portal. Sometimes they're, hey, I averaged 3 points in a place and I haven't gotten my chance. She's had her chance. She's shown she can score at this level. What a great plug and play option for Coach Gillespie.
I love that. And we had that with Nevaeh Thomas in the previous year because she came to us. This will be her second year. We had Vay, who came up from Evansville. And so now we're going to get the same thing from Bella. And when I saw that, and I said, hey, wait a minute. I kind of liked her when she was with the Trees. And I said, this is going to be really nice. And the portal, sure, we just chatted about Shannon Dowell and her going to Mizzou, and now, okay, you know, that's just the state of college sports now, but it's also really helped the Redbirds, and I think it's an attractive program with perfect red and white and sometimes black bias. It's an attractive program. People want to play for Kristen Gillespie, and you spend 30 seconds with her and you will understand why. And so I think it was attractive for Bella, and I think the staff is really going to be utilizing her. You can't pass up that kind of experience that's willing to come and add to your program. I'm really looking forward to seeing just how she's now going to fit into the Redbird dynamic.
One name that I think is probably flown a little under the radar for folks outside of the program, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Zanira Adams, who was a junior college player at Cisco Junior College in Texas. Didn't play last year because she was hurt, but 2 years ago as a freshman, 18 points, 9 rebounds a game as a 5'9" guard. Super productive. Obviously, there's an adjustment to, hey, we got to go to Division I out of the JUCO level, but that feels like somebody we might hear from as the season goes on.
And I'm looking forward to that because I have a funny feeling that on Sunday in our exhibition game, we're going to see a lot of her. And that's in order to get her into what is going to be a really good atmosphere for an exhibition game with those two crosstown teams. I mentioned, you know, Illinois Wesleyan's relationship to Illinois State, which is a really, really good one. But Zanira Adams, and that's my understanding of the pronunciation as well. The broadcaster's got to catch up a little bit too, but I believe that is it. But I saw that and I thought the same thing. And we've had that a little bit in the past where we've had players who weren't able to maybe play through injury or for other reasons, and then they've come to the Redbirds and then they've thrived. And I think that Zanira Adams is going to get just the right kind of mentorship, not just from the coaching staff, but from the experienced people that we've been talking about, that I think her development, she's got a huge upside. I really am looking forward to her. I understand she's incredibly athletic, and I'm curious to see just kind of what of those attributes that she may actually help replace that Shannon Dowell had. So we'll see. But yes, I love that they're able to bring in some people with some proven success at, you know, fairly decent levels.
Schedule wise, you know, it's I look at schedule. It's all about metrics. It's all about, hey, we're trying to maybe build an at-large resume, and certainly Illinois State, you know, picked third in the preseason poll. The Valley has been a multi-bid league in the past, trying to get back there. You've got 4 home games with, you know, 3 quad 4s and a quad 3. Those are games you take care of. You go to Puerto Rico, you've got 3 quad 2s, 3 top 100 teams, and Rice, East Carolina, and Wake, and then some big boys on the road, big girls on the road, Illinois and Nebraska there that are both going to be quad 1 opportunities. When you look at the body of work that Coach Gillespie and her staff were able to put together, what jumps out at you?
They don't shy away. It's interesting too. We've had obviously the relationship with Illinois is just 45 minutes or so, maybe a little bit more than that down the road. So, you know, it's been a home and home. It's not an annual home and home, but it's a regular opponent for Illinois State. And it's been actually where the Redbirds have had some success. Well, now they kind of have it going on down at the Illini. So that's going to be a really a really, really good test. The Nebraska connection is former associate head coach is now in that staff. And so we've gotten that. And that's something that I know Jess worked on hard. And we're hoping that we get to capitalize and get to see some of that too. But we never shy away from the schedule. We try to find some good MTEs. I say we, forgive me. I'm not that guy, but I'm just for experience.
I'm with you.
Just for efficiency.
Sure.
The Redbirds they never shy away from that, especially with the MTEs. I really like this down in Puerto Rico where we're going on Thanksgiving week, and just talked to their tournament organizer yesterday, as a matter of fact, and he's pretty enthused about things. And the home of Roberto Clemente, and as a baseball guy, I love that aspect of it too. So I'm looking forward to that. But just from the competition standpoint, on 3 straight days around Thanksgiving, boy, the Redbirds are going to come back battle tested and getting ready to move into conference play almost immediately coming out of Thanksgiving week. So yeah, they don't shy away. It's not just getting dubs. They're looking ahead to when Valley play starts.
Looking at the preseason poll, Belmont, Murray State at the top, Illinois State sliding in at number 3. Understandable, the Racers and Bruins are at the top. They're the only 2 teams with returning all league players too on both sides. But it's a different league this year. There was a lot of high end talent that left this league a season ago from all over the place. It's October 24th. Do you feel like when we get to February 24th that Illinois State's going to be knocking on the door to potentially cut down the nets when they get to March?
I really think so, because this is a team that not only the coaching staff and the philosophy of Kristen Gillespie is that we are preparing for the Valley season during November and December, whatever non-conference we still have then. And then the conference season is just when we now go to work, and that toughens us up. And I know that's almost hackneyed as well. But the point is, they are a team that seems to get better as time goes on. And Kristen does, I think, a phenomenal job of managing a season. She historically gives a team a week off at Christmas time. You know, it's a mental reset as well as a physical one. And she also makes sure, and I know many coaches do this too with our MTE on Thanksgiving week, we're going to go a little early and go to Puerto Rico and kind of have some time together, because there are enough new faces and the chemistry is very important. She's big on chemistry, as I think most coaches at our level are. And so the whole point to that is, yes, I really think the Redbirds, I can consider a dark horse. You got to put the Racers and you got to put the Bruins right there at the top. Frankly, I think they're interchangeable. Obviously,
Sure.
We know how they were picked, but as the Racers defending champs, and then Bruins, I think probably have something to prove. I think this year too, to be honest, because I don't think they felt they got the best shake last year, and so they have a little something to prove. But I'm really looking forward to the league. Some, like for instance, the Drakes and the UNIs. They don't look quite the same, but there's still UNI and there's still Drake.
Yep.
And then look at what Ashleen Bracey is doing at UIC, and she an Illinois State alum, I might add, Ashleen Bracey. So she comes from great heritage there. Under some really good history here at Illinois State. So this is going to be an interesting season. I just don't know. When they asked for the poll, they said, Greg, we don't have your poll yet. And I said, I don't know how to fill it out. I don't know what to do here. I think I know the top 3, but after that, okay, whatever. Let's throw them in a hat. And that's kind of what I did. I'll be honest. It's the preseason, but this is going to be fun. This is really going to be a lot of fun this year. I really do believe that.
We need something to argue about. That's why we need polls. The one sort of scheduling anomaly this year with going to the odd number of teams is, you've got off weeks. It's built into the schedule. The women's side is they tried to stay more in that there's not officially travel partners anymore, but trying to do a Thursday, Saturday, Friday, Sunday deal. But just looking at Murray State, they don't play their first conference game until December 29th. If memory serves, your first conference game is December 3rd. You guys are pushed way up on the front end. I mean, that's 4 weeks of time that you're trying to prepare for a conference season, and you got to be ready a little bit earlier.
Yeah, and then we don't have one for a little bit.
Right.
It's really weird, but I understand. I do understand. I also like that we're going to stick with a 20-game conference schedule. I have no problem with that. I want a true champion. I think that's how you have to do that. We kind of had to fiddle with that a little bit with the 12-team league, which I love the 12-team league. Don't get me wrong, but we kind of, for instance, Murray State and Belmont played once a year, and I didn't like that at all. I love playing the Racers and the Bruins. With a couple of seasons, we weren't able to play them other than just once. But I just like that we're going to have a true champion. I like it's going to be the regular Valley grind. Sure, it's going to look a little different on the travel itineraries with the travel agents and the bus schedule, but we get through it, and it's still not the toughest travel league, at least for Illinois State. We like that we're a little centrally located, so when the Valley time comes, it may not be as much of a hardship. So, we'll find a way. We'll manage it. I can't wait, though.
We're not digging ditches. We're just calling basketball games.
We're not. That John Rooney, the voice of the Cardinals, said, "No one's beating heart is in our hands."
Correct.
This is not. We're just here to entertain and have some fun and get some pride.
And all the hot dogs we can eat in the press room as well. So, Greg Halbleib, thank you so much for the time today, and hopefully we can catch you up down the road soon.
Hey, thanks for asking, Jeff. I appreciate it. Had fun.
Appreciate you. Thank you. All right, there's Greg Halbleib, the voice of the Illinois State women's basketball program. And as we mentioned, and we will hop right in here, we finally got it on Wednesday, right after we went off the air here. We got our preseason poll from the Missouri Valley. And listen, I don't know what's going on. I'm trying not to just lose my mind about it. Lose my mind over things that are ultimately not important at all. The men's side, we only got 5 teams. The women, we only got 4. I'm glad, when do we get 3? I don't know. These are the 4 teams that picked up first place votes: Belmont, Murray State, Illinois State, and Drake. And those are the 4 that are released. So I guess everyone else is tied for 5th this year in the preseason. But again, a pretty negligible difference in the overall point totals of Belmont and Murray State. Bruins, obviously, with more first place votes. In the end, they are the 2 programs that have returning players, as Belmont with Tootie Jones, Jalen Banks, Murray State with Hallie Polk and Haven Ford. And that's it for the returners. So, okay, we're fine with them 1 and 2. They played, of course, for the championship in Evansville last year. And again, fine. But of course, to Greg's point, and I think to a lot of people's points, to think Illinois State's not going to be there at the end, forget it. Think Drake's not going to be there at the end, forget it. Think Northern Iowa's probably not going to be there at the end, forget it. And then, as we've talked about, Bradley's coming, UIC is coming as well. There is a lot. It's just going to be a different league. And as I said, all that high end first team talent last year that's gone. There's now time for new kids to step in and step up. And that's the part that's really going to be neat to watch this year. But it begins again. It's just sort of the odd part where I believe Illinois State, I think it's Northern Iowa on December 3rd. I'm sure I don't have that right, but we'll go with it. We don't let the facts get in the way of a good story here on Morning in the Valley. But I know that Illinois State plays their first conference game December 3rd because they play. It's kind of that format I know the guys used a couple of years ago where they would play those first conference games like the last Thursday of November and into the first weekend of December, and then they wouldn't play anymore until after Christmas. Well, that's kind of what the women are doing. Murray State's the one school that doesn't play any conference games before Christmas. Again, they don't start till December 29th. So just the part of the deal that it's going to have to play itself out, but everybody plays everybody twice. So that way there's no schedule imbalance. So we will have a true regular season champion when all 20 games have been decided. We have speaking of the 2 Murray State young women, Hallie Polk and Haven Ford there on the right, they have been named to the Becky Hammond Award watch list, which is given to the best mid-major player in the country. 25 players on that list. These 2 are the only 2 from the Missouri Valley Conference. There were 5 schools with multiple picks. Racers, obviously, with one of them. One of the other 5 schools is George Mason, and the Racers will play George Mason down in Florida in their MTE later on this season. So we'll get a good opportunity. This list is, as they like to say, it is a fluid list. It is a list where you have an opportunity to play yourself onto the list. You have an opportunity to play yourself off of the list. They will announce, they cut it to a semifinal list somewhere in February. I think it's the final 4 or 5 in early March, and then the winner will be announced at the Final Four. But some good early season recognition for Polk and Ford. Last year, Polk averaging 17 points, 4.3 assists. That was one of 16 players in the country with who had at least those numbers. And then Haven Ford, 14.9 points, 6 rebounds, 5.2 assists. One of 4 players in the country that put up those numbers. So a lot of high expectations for those two to see. Certainly, Caitlin Young gone at Murray State, the 3,000 point all-time leading scorer at Murray State. A little more going to be on these two shoulders, and we'll see how they are able to move forward. One other piece of news out of Murray State, and it is from the men's side. And Ryan Miller mentioned, it was actually during media day on Tuesday. We didn't get to this on Wednesday. The Racers dealing with some injuries as we go into the final exhibition game they will play coming up on Sunday. They will be without Ben Stoltzberg, who was initially his freshman year, played at Creighton when Ryan Miller was an associate head coach there. Spent the last 2 years out at UC Santa Barbara. Has come in. He has a stress reaction in his foot. Coach Miller said they expect him to be out 2 to 4 weeks. And he's spending a lot of time on the bike at practice right now, trying to just maintain some level of conditioning. The other player is J.J. Traynor. He played at Louisville, was at DePaul most recently last season, has had a shoulder injury, minor, did not play in the exhibition at Xavier. There was an MRI scheduled for this week. On Tuesday, Coach Miller saying did not anticipate there being anything found in the MRI. They're just taking precautionary measures at this point. Traynor not expected to play in the exhibition game on Sunday, but barring some unexpected turn of events, he will be ready to go when we are ready to go on November the 3rd, when the Racers are in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, taking on Omaha in the Field of 68 opening day marathon. How about some NCAA talk? Let's do it. We have now learned the Division I Administrative Council, I think is what it was called a couple of weeks ago, voting to approve that college athletes could now bet on pro sports. And the only thing that was holding it up was we were waiting on Division II and Division III to also vote. And if we got a unanimous approval, we'd be ready to roll. We are now ready to roll. November the 1st, yesterday, the NCAA announcing that both Division II and Division III have also approved it. So college athletes will now have the chance to gamble on pro sports. Take it, leave it. It's what it is. And I think as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, I said I feel like the main part about this, as much as anything, is it's for better or worse, it's one less thing that the NCAA has to worry about. Now, you still can't bet on college sports. You're still, I mean, oh shoot, we saw the whole little FBI deal with the NBA guys yesterday, and how, and a lot of it being, at least the stuff that I saw that had to do with specific NBA games, a lot of it was, hey, these are guys saying, oh, I'm going to be hurt, so you can bet on my rebounds and bet on my unders and whatever. Well, listen, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you might have been able to get away with that. No one's going to notice that, oh, you've rolled an ankle and you're, a whole bunch of your buddies that you told you were going to take yourself out of the game and they took an under on, rebounds or whatever. But now everything is digital. There's a footprint for all of it. And when some random guy who, they know, like, flags go up with these things. I mean, it's just, it is bizarre to me that people still think they can get away with this stuff. That it's just the digital footprint of all of it is so profound that it's wild to me. It's wild. And that is still going to be the thing that college kids are going to be potentially susceptible for. And that has nothing to do with this law at all. They were susceptible to it before. But this lane, at least, of we're not going to worry about, are these kids betting on NBA games? Are they betting on NFL games? Are they betting on, are they doing fantasy league? Whatever it may be, it's just one less thing. So, again, your mileage is going to vary on it. Obviously, there's the doomsayers of, oh, you got these kids with NIL money now, and you're giving them license to bet and whatever. Yeah, They're adults, and some of them may learn hard lessons the hard way. I mean, that's that. And, to think again, to put your head in the sand, to think that this wasn't going on, behind the scenes, and whether it was with a local guy or just betting, to think it wasn't happening anywhere is bananas in terms of naivete. So this makes it open, legal, hopefully transparent. Hopefully there's education going on between these coaches and somebody in the administration sitting down with these guys and trying to educate them. And we're still in college. We there still is an educational component allegedly. So hopefully that'll be a part of it. But November 1st, the gates are open, and here we go from there. The other thing that was discussed yesterday out of the NCAA was there has been discussion about a 5-for-5 rule where, again, I think this was a means of we're just going to get rid of all of this, can he get an extra year here for this reason or that reason, or we're going to argue about, like, again, one less thing to worry about. Everybody gets 5 years, hard stop. Everybody can play for 5 years if they want, hard stop, and that's it. And, I think there has been you've seen it the last couple of years, and it's because of NIL. There's no question about it that you have kids that are just trying to stay in college as long as possible. And, there was a time forever where you would go to college to learn. Look, this is basketball players. These are architects. These are art majors, whatever it is. You go to college to learn your skill and your craft so you can go out into the world and be a professional. Well, college basketball, college football, all of college sports now, for some athletes, you're professional. So if you're being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, of course you want to stay as long as you can. Of course you want to stay as long as you can. So this was at least a way where you're not getting these kids with these 6 years, 7th years. You see some 8th years. I mean, it's part of it's wild where you're just like, all right, please move on so we can get some other kids in. The 5-for-5 rule has been tabled. It will not for anybody that's a senior this year, that's a 4th year senior that thought, I may get a 5th year next year. It's not coming. So that part's off the table, at least for a year. Will I be surprised if down the road this is brought in? No, of course not. I'm not at this point, can't be surprised by anything when it comes to the NCAA. But for now, the 5-for-5 rule is off the table, at least for 26-27. We will look once we get a little further down the line with that. Controversy with the G League. Who would have known? Louisville has gotten a commitment from London Johnson. London Johnson is a young man that spent the last 3 years in the G League, and within the last 48 hours has committed to play college basketball at the University of Louisville, which, of course, everyone record screech. What? He's been a pro for 3 years, and now he's back. And there's another young man, Thierry Dorlan, who came out of Africa, the Central African Republic, and played in the NBA Academy Africa program down there. He is committed to Santa Clara. That was about a week or two ago. That one caught a little less national buzz, more than London Johnson did, where he had specifically been in the G League for 3 years and is now back. I am finding it wildly difficult to find any pearls to clutch over this. I know we have seen it across the entire college basketball landscape that international kids are being signed at a very high rate all over the place. I know for very, very close to home here, Murray State has 3 on their men's team this year, 2 from France and 1 from New Zealand. And I think the initial push was, and I think this had, look, I can't get into governmental policies and visas and this and that. My understanding was at the time, if you were in the United States on a student visa, that you couldn't take NIL money. That's my understanding. I could be completely wrong. I don't believe I am, but you couldn't take NIL money. And so that's why there was value in these international kids to come over and play, because they weren't going to cost against your budget. Now, I think with revenue sharing, it's different than NIL, because NIL is technically a job. And so it's not a work visa, it's a student visa, and that's the whole thing. So, but there are still there are so many good international players, and some coaches are over there hustling and finding talent and bringing it in. London Johnson has spent 3 years in the G League. The gray area that the NCAA is giving him the clearance to play is that basically when you are in the G League, you're basically a starving artist. You're making like no money. You're making enough money to live, and that's it. And so it's almost that the NCAA looks at that like, well, as the line is blurred between amateur athletics and professional athletics, and you have all these players who are amateurs in college being paid, it's like, well, if they're being paid, but you got these G League guys who have claimed they're professionals, but they're barely getting anything. Well, how does that take them to another level and make them ineligible to come back to college? For me, the whole part is these international kids that come over, and again, just speaking with the kids that I have the most access to, are the two, Roman Doman and Matisse Corbon from France, and then Lachlan Crate from New Zealand. They have played professional basketball in their countries for years. Doman is 20 and is registered as a freshman. So it's like, how is it any different for these kids to have taken money overseas and be ruled eligible to play college basketball than it is for London Johnson, who has played professional basketball, albeit at a small level here in the States, that he's not allowed to play? Like, the coaches were, it was the old time coaches. We have seen the exile of, the Krzyzewskis and the Boeheims and the Williams and the Jay Wrights, guys like that are like, I'm just not dealing with this NIL world, and we're out. And they were toward the end of their run, obviously, as they were all getting outside of Jay Wright. These guys were all getting into their 70s, and it was like, this was the perfect exit time for them. But now you have, now it's Tom Izzo, it's Bill Self, it's these guys that are just like, it's all broken and this is terrible. And well, but if you're getting international guys, how is this any different? How is it any different? So either, look, you can't take guys from the G League, you can't take international guys. If that's the rule you're going to go with, then that's fine. But right now, it's we're just talking out of both sides of our mouth, and I don't understand it. Now, they have to get waivers from the NCAA, and whatever formula they use, obviously, again, a G League athlete is not making any money, so that's fine. But because everybody's like, well, why wouldn't LeBron James just decide he's going to go back to college? Well, because he has made an excess of the starving artist that the G League is at. But I just, long way around the block to be like, this could not bother me less. Yes, it sort of throws up a flag. Yes, they have to figure out, because London Johnson has 2 years of eligibility left. That's going to be the question, is just when these guys go pro, if the domestic kids that skip college, go to the G League, and then want to come back, how many years of eligibility do they have? We don't need, the part that is, and this was the part about the COVID years and so on. We don't need 25-year-olds playing college basketball. That to me was kind of the 5 for 5 thing, where it's like, all right, if everybody's out by the time they're 23, I'm good with that. We don't need, all right, I'm going to go play in the G League for 3 or 4 years and come back, and now I'm a freshman and I'm just going to play for 4 years and make good money. And then when I get done, I'm 25, 26. We don't need that. But the guardrails have been blown off at this point. So until some are rebuilt, and unfortunately, there's you're going to have the coaches that are cranky about stuff, and then you're going to have 50 coaches over there that are just full steam ahead and going to go try to and now I know I can go try and recruit G League guys if I want. And I'm going to continue to bring guys in from overseas and just trying to find the best players they can for their team. So a lot of chatter about this over the last couple of days, but I am certainly one that could not in any way, shape, or form be bothered in the least about a G League player coming back to college and playing, as London Johnson will do for Louisville. All right, we have a couple old friend alerts before we get out of here this morning. First and foremost, we have Kamani Dowdy from Indiana State. He has signed to go play in Georgia, the country, not the state, over in far eastern Europe. Kamani was started 27 games for the Sycamores last year, averaged about 8.5 points, 3.5 rebounds. So certainly safe travels, and best of luck to him over there in Georgia. He will be joined in the country by Illinois State's Dalton Banks, who is also signed in the Super League over there in Georgia as well. 10 points a game last year for the Redbirds, all defensive team in the Missouri Valley last year. He spent 3 years at Southern Illinois before finishing his career with the final two there with the Redbirds. That does it for this morning here on Morning in the Valley. Again, we got 3 exhibition games coming up this weekend. Evansville and Murray State's men will be in action this weekend, along with Illinois State's women. They'll play on Sunday against Illinois Wesleyan, so we'll have all of those breakdowns for you coming up on Monday. We'll also continue our preseason previews next week. We got to get them all done next week because the week after that, it's go time. And it's time to start the 2025-26 season. Thanks to Greg Halbleib for being with us, the radio voice for the Illinois State women's basketball program. Again, friendly reminder that we will, this weekend, once I have some time, I got to be on a flight here in a couple hours to Youngstown, Ohio to go call Murray State football. But in between airports and bus rides, we will be getting it all set up to finally have this show in an audio version. It'll be on Apple Podcasts. It will be on Spotify as well for you folks that just want to listen and don't need to see my ugly mug, which I fully respect. But for those of you that want to watch the show, it is always available on YouTube live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. If you can head on over there and subscribe for free, we would greatly appreciate it. All the past shows, interview clips, all of our previews broken down by team, very easy to navigate there. Just go to youtube.com and search out Morning in the Valley. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful weekend. When we get back here on Monday, we are going to be into the single digits and 7 days away from the start of the season. Cannot wait. Can't wait to do it with you. We'll see you on Monday morning. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for watching Morning in the